Welcome back to the M3 podcast. This week, we got Ricky on from the MMG squad, and we got the Asphaltic Surfaces crew on. Jake, Mason, glad you guys are here.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
We've already had probably 2 hours worth of podcasting before this. And but before we jump into all of our fun stories, all that stuff, I want to kind of back up, and I do try to touch in the beginning to where people know a little bit of story background. Let's start. Whoever wants to start, I'm fine with either or. Kind of background on you, what led you to where you're at now, and got you into the asphalt world.
Okay, well, I guess when I got out of high school, yeah, I got pretty much got out of high school. Didn't really want to do. Went to work for one of my dad's companies in the union. That didn't work out. I can't work for him long. Like 2 weeks, I quit. Then I went to one of my buddy's dads called, and he's like, "Hey, you want to come hold a sign? We're doing a bunch of prevailing wage work in Blue Springs." And he's like, "It's $40 an hour." I'm like, "Well, yeah, I'm 19." And I did that for the whole summer, and you couldn't pay me $100 an hour to do that. I ended up quitting over there, and I went to work for. And the truth is, I went to work for Casey Asphalt, and the owner sat down with me that day. He's like, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" I said, "I'll be running this company." And literally within 3 years, I was running it. And then, I always knew that I was going to work for myself because I've always just had that kind of drive and push. And then about, I think, 3 years before I did start a business, I went to him and said, "Hey, I'm going to do my own thing." Well, another company offered me a third more of my salary to go work for them. So he wasn't too crazy, so he obviously matched it. And then about 2 years later, said money's not going to matter. I got to work for myself, and that's when that started.
And then I jumped in, completely unrelated to KCA.
Yeah,
Once he
company.
left, I rolled into the crew that replaced him. So kind of unrelated, but I was fresh out of high school, had some odd-end job work at Target, couple random things.
Target to asphalt work.
And then my father-in-law
Big
ran
difference.
equipment, and he was working there. So he's like, "Hey, you want a job? I'll get you some experience. I teach you some things." So I was like, "Fuck it, let's learn it." So I jumped in, kind of unrelated, right behind him.
So then how did your guys' did your guys' paths cross there, or was it later on?
Way
Later on. So it was a problem. I don't know how long he's been with me for, what, 4?
I was there for like a year and a half.
And then I was buying from a certain company on asphalt. And one of their truck drivers said, "Dude, you got to steal this kid." And I was just like, he goes, "But they're going to be mad." I'm like, "I ain't got no ties to them. I don't care."
They're going to be pissed.
I'm my own business. Like all these other companies, they know each other's business. And I'm like, ain't nobody know my problem. And then so it was bad. So I think it took a little bit. He finally reached out to me, and I was, man, I'm nervous. This young kid. And at that time, I'm obviously about, 5, 10 years old. Sheesh. Damn.
Aging yourself.
Yeah. And then so he ended up coming work for me and just killed it. And what's really bad is the company that he was at got pissed off at the plant that we were both using, and they quit letting me buy. They were pissed off. They're like, we're not selling. Because he basically went to their owner of their plant and said, "Jake's freaking stealing my guys. I'm not freaking going to buy mix from you no more." So he started making it a pain in the ass on me. I said, "I'll just go into the plant. There's 5 other ones." And then so, and that guy helped me get started by giving me a charge account. But then he came on and, really obviously I'm older, but it was like a spinning wheel for me at that age. We just kind of.
And when I worked at KCA, everyone kept saying, even the owner was like, "Hey, I see you being the next Jake. I see you as that role. I see you as being potentially the drive to do that." I was like, "All right." And the driver that sent me over here was like kind of an off and on family friend for since I was I don't know, 5, 6. So I'd kind of known him. He lived next door to my stepdad. So I knew the guy, and I was like, "All right, I'm just going to trust this guy. Fuck it."
Yeah.
He wouldn't steer me wrong.
And that is nice. Sometimes I think that there's a lot that goes into that. And I also see it a lot in businesses depending on where they're at and how much opportunity of growth that there is there. And it's the same thing as we progress forward. It's how do you build those opportunities for people and help people get to the next step. And I think you being in a younger company, there's a lot of growth opportunity, and you still have that just crazy fire under you that it's going to be huge. So then it makes it to where we talk about all the time. There's the entrepreneurs and the entrepreneurs that you can become that entrepreneur inside, and then you can take on and build those those crews and run those crews and do all that. And it is nice sometimes where I think the head spot is definitely, there's more, I talk about this on a lot of podcasts. It's definitely hyped up to be a lot cooler than it is sometimes. Where
it has its days.
There's days where it's like, I was telling Ricky today, we were sitting at lunch and I was like, you want to know the thing that like actually I enjoy most about all of this? He's like, what? And I was like, the fact I can go to lunch. 3 years in the car business, I didn't get to go to lunch. Like I did every day. I ate at my desk, and it was like I didn't get to leave. Like it was one of those things that those little things just hold so much value. But it's the same thing with like everyone that works around me. I'm like, if you want to go to lunch and sit down for an hour, hour and a half, go have lunch, go for it. Like own your time.
That's what I see on some of yours. So even like with my like office staff, like I try to make it where at least once a week. We've been doing it. We didn't do it last week, but where I say, hey, we're all going to go to lunch, because I mean I follow a lot of your stuff, and since we got together, and even for when you're gonna laugh at when Corey was telling me about you, then he actually is one main reason why we even contacted you. He was like, hey, he goes, dude,
good looking out.
You got to check out these dudes. I'm like, I got to get
months.
marketing,
For
my
months.
business partner. We couldn't, things was kind of limited because, I wanted to make decisions myself. And yeah, he was bugging me. Like one day I was like, dude, what's the name? He's probably gave it to me like 3 or 4 times. And he gives it to me. And then, like I said, I'm like, well, shoot, I'm going to call him up. And then I walked in, I met with Ricky, and I was like, he shows me the prices. And I was like, is there anything a little cheaper? It was just like, but feeding off of that and following you and seeing like the atmosphere that you created in your business, that's the same thing I want to do. Because when I started mine the first 3 years, it was, the first year and a half, I was running the crew too and selling. So, I'd run the crew to about 4 or 5 o'clock or know right when I could leave. And then I'd head off to go look at jobs and be up till midnight. But like I said, that's the drive to do it again. But now even with him, it's the point that I can, I see 90% of the job, but I'll go meet him on the job and I'll leave and go handle other things. But that's what we're talking about, growth, to get him to the point that he's helping project manager and schedule, and I can just get away from the scheduling. He can work with the other sales and myself, because I love selling. But like you say, like you told me you met that one guy, you like, I didn't know what to do one side. He pretty much told you to give off some responsibility to other people. And you're like, what I'm going to do? And he's like, we'll do what you do best. And so that's what I want to get to this point really fast. And that's why, and we're growing at that. And then, like you said, it's just finding the right people below you that make it happen between him and the girls in the office, and like, or he'll have, some sort of issue. He'll be like, well, this is this. And I'm like, we're going to make mistakes, but if we can learn from them and keep them limited. I was there. I started at the ground on the shovel and holding the sign, worked my way all the way up to the top. I remember when I started at KC Asphalt, the foreman was there. He was like, you know how to run that loader? I was like, yeah. I get in it, and I'm just jerking it, slamming it against the ground. He's like, get out.
He's like, oh, that was my time to shine. And I botched it.
I'm going to fake it till I make it or something. And so, but that kind of went that way.
He's like, this ain't going forward or backwards over here.
I'm over here. And it's the old ones that had the whole handle, so if you got going, this shit's doing all this.
Yeah.
You can throw your back out.
You get the whole death bubble front and back of the loader. You just
stop, just hit the red button to shut it down.
Yeah. No, but it is funny how many business owners we have come our way. And in the early days, we had cheaper options, but it was one of the reasons that we raised pricing was actually to change the clientele that we worked with. That you figure out anything that when people are willing to spend more money, they actually have more buy-in in what they're spending their money. The people that were spending less money in it were way more of a headache, and not all of them, but a large portion of them, because they would run through the year, then you would hit October, November, December, and their business and their personal lives were tied together. Where I see one of the biggest problems in business is when those two are tied as one. And I think one of the things that really helped me separate that was when we switched over to an S corp. I hadn't taken pay from the company like at all. I had to go on to payroll, and it was like I really got to start separating it. But there's companies that on those low ticket, they don't have a yearly budget of what they're going to spend. They're looking at month to month. Like, what can we pull next month to survive into the next 30 days? So when they're looking at it, they'll look at it Christmas time to pull all their marketing budget so they can buy Christmas presents. And it's like really hard having that conversation, but it's there. And I was that business owner that was at that level where it was all intertwined. It was something that was like, I'm trying to survive over here with this and everything else. There was no separation of it all. And I was pulling from I pulled a line of credit against my house to keep the company open, the whole nine. But it was like betting it all in, but I never took my foot off the gas. I think as we increased our pricing, we got into a whole different caliber of companies that when you're looking at it, you can spend that 12 months out of the year. That's the way your mind's working on. Like growth is the only direction that you're going. Like we had a guy in today. When I'm sitting there talking with a business owner, I'm like, what's your increase of growth year over year? Like what's that percentage looking like? I can tell a lot by a business owner real quick where people ask me that and I'm like, we've had 100 to 150% increase year over year since we've opened. And like opening year was still a lot. Where like once you start compounding that and you start getting into millions of dollars compounding still at 100% increase, like that's unheard of. But it's also like just understanding the same thing when we sit with business owners. I can read it like a book immediately. I can see the guys that are willing to sit at the table or gals, they're willing to bet, that are willing to go do it. And there's a lot of people that aren't willing to sit at the table to bet.
No, and it takes that because it was even with us. Like I think I talked to Ricky about it when we were going, and and that just got me fired up, sitting down talking to him. And I think that the day I came in to shoot the commercial, you pulled in as I was getting ready to leave. I think me and you bullshit for like an hour.
I was gonna say, just standing there, I'm like, we should have sat down at least.
And I literally was like, and that's what made me change because in the back of my head, I was really like, all right, we're gonna have to like. And because when I was talking to him, I was like, how's it like month to month? Because I was like, he's because I'm like, man, we don't really do anything December, January, February. And I go, so I don't know, I'll really have to probably watch that. And he was like, well, if you do, but then talking to you that day, you explained about that, I think that guy that got all those snowplow jobs. Yep. And I was like, and I went back, I even told Melody and Jaquan, I was just like, she's like, so I told him we're going to, you mean text him, I'm going to tell him that we're going to, set him down. So I said, no, we're not doing that now. I go, dude, I just talked to this dude. And I was just like, I talked to Dane, and I go, I don't think I'm counseling. I go, you told me this dude got all this. Why can't we do the same? And I go, and we didn't never have any kind of budget for marketing because all we did was our own Facebook, or you see me post some live videos. But if it had to do with some words and spelling, it wasn't going to make sense for me. And so
I'm a big fan of Grammarly, so huge fan.
So I just kept it going. I was like, he said he can guarantee this. I said, let's just keep it going. And then I got big off talking to you about that. I think that apartment guy said, that basically you told him how much you had to spend, and he was just like, I think you even said, hey, if you don't got it, you don't got it. And you obviously knew he had it.
My thing is like just being upfront with something. I never, and it's all of us, like, because the thing is the upcoming of MMG, there's a whole group of us that were in the basement that all felt it. And I was very transparent with everyone that everyone got to kind of feel what it was that was coming up. Like, they all bet on something. And I'm like, I'm not going to leave you in the dark on it. There once in a while were things that I'm like, I don't know how the fuck I'm going to pay him tomorrow, but got to try to figure that out. I'm like, hey, if I give you guys checks, what I just put in the bank is not clearing until tomorrow. Can you wait a day to cash them? And they're like, yeah. But it was just like, as we've progressed, it's crazy that you see in the weirdest of times that some of the biggest hits for these companies come, that it's just like if somebody's going to play a slot machine or they're playing blackjack and they're like, man, I've lost 5 in a row. I'm done. And then it's like, maybe the 16 was the one that you want.
That's how it always works.
It's like, I'm sitting there in the second, I'm like throwing stuff and I'm like, oh. And then Dre's sitting there, he's like, hey man, we've spent a lot on this and like, where are we at? And I'm like, I'm going to spend more. And he's like, what? And I'm like, it'll work.
Just gotta get there fast.
Done your stuff, you're going to stop and just keep going. And before you like I've got to win. Like I've done lost 10 times. Like something's got to give.
Yeah, if you go bad and you lose the first time, double up, go again, double up again, go again. Just it's the law. You're going to hit at some point.
Yeah.
And it's crazy when we sit there and November, December is always like a weird space for us. But it's funny because every account that we had that's on our higher side, none of them go anywhere during those months. But it's a business owner. And I try to help the business owners that are coming up and I'm watching them, that we operate as a business that is 10 times the size of ours. I've been fortunate enough, and a lot of us have been fortunate enough to be around these high-level CEOs, and these high-level operators and management in these companies, that it's like, we see how they already operate. Let's set ourselves up to operate that way. towards the way that we run our accounting side is as if we were a huge, huge firm. The way that we run our operations is as if we were 10 times bigger. The software that we run as if we were 10 times bigger. But it makes it to where we're already accustomed to doing those things. But I'm like, if that's how these people run, then we have to still play in that same game to be able to operate there. That if you say this is how someone trains in high school and this is how someone trains in the NFL, if you train like the person in the NFL, you're going to have a lot better opportunity or chance to be in the NFL. If you're like, I'm going to train like this person in high school my whole entire life and think I'm going to make it there.
Right.
So
That's how I've always been. We haven't, him and I haven't really sat down and hit it, but, he hit me up. It was probably a good month ago. He was just like, hey, I'd like to sit down and pick your brain, because one thing I want to always do is surround myself with people that are going. And I've always been a big, big person on, you want to do it right, get behind somebody that's always doing it right. And so, it's even nothing towards, it's good towards you that we met you, but I have another friend that's actually my fiance, Sergeant. And he's literally, I look at you almost the same way because him and I talk about it, but he's literally like just one of those guys that just get you fired up. He might be one of those, you don't even want to fight nobody, you're going to whip somebody's ass twice as big because he's just giving you that much energy to freaking go crazy. And I was around him, they had, we were at the Marine Ball because he's in the Marines, and this guy goes, one of the new Marines, he was over there talking this kid up. And this kid just comes over, he's like, I'm about to whoop somebody's ass. And I'm just like, well, what? He goes, I don't know, just talking to this guy just wants me to fight somebody. I'm like, I just chill out because I'm not going to help you out right now. But those are the kind of people I want to be around, And this was we did a huge Christmas party, we did main event. We throw it for all the whole families. They bring their kids. We spend actually $50 on each person's kid for Christmas. We give out bonuses. We take care of the whole event center, all the food and alcohol, everything's paid for. And this one meant a lot to me this year because I bought my partner out, so I was on my own. And what's good is that, you can do everything for everybody else, and, even you, but every once in a while it's good if you feel like somebody gives you some recognition. So like him, he put a whole thing together and said boss on this big poster that's in my office. And it was all, and I even asked Melody, I was just like, did you have anything to do? She's like, no, it was all Mason and the guys. And I was like, cool, because that's what that makes you feel good. And it really just makes it that you're doing it right.
Yeah. And the other thing too is I look at it as when you're doing it for all those people around you, and Madison tells me it's my best trait and my worst trait, that it is something that makes me successful, but it's also something that probably hinders me the most is I think about every day getting up and doing things for other people. And I will say the hardest thing that I'll advise any business owner out there listening, that Ricky and I went to a lunch and we were talking to a guy, and he's like, the hardest thing in business when you scale is not becoming cold. And it's like, I've had people that I've invested 2 years of my time plus, and they walk around and walk out on me and stab me in the back months later too, where all I ever wanted was the best for them, their family, the whole nine. And it makes it hard sometimes, where my wife and I talk all the time about business and growth and where can we get better at different things. And I told her, I was like, it's hard that something like that happens, but it's funny that I have new people coming on that I'm doing the same thing. And she's like, what if the same thing happens? I go, it's a disservice to the next person if I don't treat it the same. So it's so hard because I'm like, I have all these success stories around me of the people I've done that with. I can't then jeopardize the next group of people because someone does me wrong. And it's I've had a good amount of them. I've had people that have came through that I've helped pay their rent for them every single month that they've been at our company. And then no show and not show up to our place of business one day to try to screw us.
Or some of them get to, you've done that where you helped them out and they think now they can go do it on their own. And you're like, I just invested all this time with this dude. But like you said, you can't give it to the next person.
The thing, there's certain people that, the people around me that I've told that they could go do it on their own. 100%. There's people that I look at, really my whole leadership side, I look at Alex that works for us, I look at a whole group of people. If they went out and they tried to do something on their own, they're going to survive. But I'm like, the other thing too, though, is I look at us as a team, and I look at when we all run together. You want to talk about a force that's going to be fucking hard to take down? I go, you don't know what you're running into when all of us are fucking standing next to each other. But it's also, I truly want so much for every single one of them and what their lives look like and how they can progress forward and what happiness is found in progression. 100%. I had a talk with a girl that in our company this week, and it was, she feels like she's stuck. I was like, I understand. I see where you're at, and I apologize that it's led to where it's at, but what can we do to help you continue progressing forward in your job and everything? And I think so many business owners too always look at that as like it's a financial number, which there's a lot of times it's not. That I have a lot of buddies that are in different industries, and their big thing is like, I had one buddy I'm sitting with drinking bourbon. He's like, I was fed up at my job. He's like, I think I want to do something different, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, I was like, why? That makes great money. And he's like, I've watched the last 3 years. He goes, everyone around you and yourself. And he goes, all of you guys are just going straight up. Because I look at how different of people you guys are. I look at the education level of how much you guys keep learning and you guys keep growing and progressing. And he goes, I'm at the exact same seat I was. He goes, I haven't done anything different in 3 years.
That's what it was at my old company. Like, I mean, I was there for 12. I was there like 3 months after it started. And, you know, what actually got me to leave, I knew I was always going to leave, but what actually got me to leave was my little brother literally made 15 grand less that last year I was there than he made the year before. Well, 45 grand a year, 15 grand's a lot. And so I was like, this ain't going to work. But the problem is, and it's cool that, you know, the owner of that company, he had that little niche, you know, $3 million, that's where he wanted to stay. That worked for him. Well, I'm at the top, so I'm like, well, where am I going to go? You know, for 4 or 5 years, I was at the top. And so, you know, we had 12 guys there. You know, it sucks him, but, you know, 6 guys followed. And it's like you said, when you kind of had that, you didn't know where Paychecks is going to come or how you're going to pay them. But when I started my business, you know, they all like, we're going with you. And then, you know, I didn't even want to screw them. So, like, 2 of the guys, I was like, hey, you guys should stay. You know, don't know what's going to happen. They're like, that's why we're not staying. And they go, we know we're trusting you. Like, if we don't go with you, we're going somewhere else. I'm like, well, I'm not going to let them go somewhere else. I know what I got. And so they left. And, you know, and that was like, you probably had the same drive. That was the drive with me. I'm like, look, now I got 7 guys that are relying on me every day to make this happen. I got to look out for them.
I will say it's a whole different weight that I didn't really understand in the beginning. Like when I left the dealership, I'm like, I want to be a business owner, blah, blah, blah. And it was just like, and then after it started happening, I was like, this isn't as much fun as it was all hyped up to be on fucking Instagram and TikTok.
And you work those hours there, and you work 10 times more.
Yeah, I'm like, before I was making a lot of fucking money, and I had all this money. I'm like, now I'm spending a lot of money, and I have no time. And I've definitely reverted the opposite way.
You do,
but it was a come to Jesus moment that I had to have with myself, and I'm very hard headed, and I think everyone else around here can vouch for that. But I had to have that talk with myself on what I was going to do and what I was going to be, and put you into a dark space. But I also think when you find that dark space, I think it's where champions are made. It's like you got to go live there for a while.
Sure.
And most people aren't willing to live in that dark
area. That's the thing. When I left, I did the same. I took a huge pay cut, half. And I'm like, what the hell? I mean, I'm maxing out credit cards.
I was burning money like it was going out of style. And I'm like, where the fuck is it going? I was like, before we actually like really hit any profitable stay, I burned like 750,000. Oh
shit.
Yeah.
That was my fiance, because he was with me before I left. And then he's like, he said, we're going to do this. I said, we can't do that. We ain't got no money. I said, I'm over how I'm paying my house payment.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, it was like 4 months, I think, before I took a pay. I just took enough to pay the house payment. But like you said, I think it's enough drive and enough push. You're going to make it. Like you said, you got to be on that. You got to know how low it is. And then you like kind of look, you know, and then you got the people that you show up to work every day. And you're like, it's not just me no more. It's not even my family no more. It's all these guys and all their families and kids that got to go somewhere.
Yeah, it was pretty fun when Ricky and Lauren came on. I remember going to sushi with them, and I'd met Ricky. I didn't know Lauren that well. I met her at the gym. I was like, I like Lauren. The reason at that point I was like all over Ricky was the fact that he could run a camera. I was like, oh, dude, we get help on a camera. And at that point, like I was the content guy everywhere. And so, but the thing was, when I went up there, the gym was like running ads right. Their ad structure was right. The content was right. Like, I was like, this looks good. And I went up and I was like, just kind of poking around. I was like, who's running your guys' marketing and everything? Ricky's like, my wife and I do it. I was like, who built the website? He's like, well, my wife and I did. They were also building the gym equipment in there and the whole nine. And I was like, yeah, literally. Yeah. So I told Madison, I was like, and we've been talking for quite a while, like going in there, and I was just like, I just really liked the demeanor. I could tell that they were good people, and that's we joke about it all the time. I don't look at resumes. Like I could give a rat's ass about a resume, but I just hire people based off like a gut feeling. Once again, it's done me well a lot of times. 10 times does me pretty well. But I told Madison, I was like, I want to hire Ricky and Lauren. And she's like, you guys don't make any money. She's like, you're spending more than you're bringing in. I was like, I'm going to take a line of credit against the house. I was like, I'm going to put it in Facebook ads. I'm going to hire Ricky and Lauren. And she's like, what? And she was like confused. And so the whole time I was hiring Ricky and Lauren, they show up and they're like, it was definitely weird, like coming to the house like the first day, because Dalton and Logan had been to the house all the time. So then they're texting me like the day before, they're like, what do we wear? I'm like, I don't know. I haven't had anybody ask that question. I was like, I don't wear whatever you normally wear. Like, I don't know. Like, so they show up, and when they come in, they walk downstairs, and I had a desk set up for them. They were deskies, so they had one desk together. And
they're used to it.
Yeah. So then they were sitting there. I was like, well, I don't really have like the work for you guys yet. And I think they were both kind of like, what? I was like, we'll find it. I'm going to pay you guys what we talked about, but we need to go find more work. And it was just like, I think Ricky was like, what the fuck did I sign up for? And we were talking about how much easier it is after you like progress it. Now people walk through our offices and stuff. They're like, yeah, I want to work here.
Well, in the beginning, you really had to paint the vision. And now that like, same with you guys, once you see the momentum of things, it's a little bit easier to get somebody on board when they see there's actually something to step on board too.
That's how I felt with Jake too. It's like his vision is like so out there, it's hard for almost anybody to see until you get with him, and then you can just like start seeing it because he sees it so clear that there's no limit. Just same as you. I mean, your vision is crazy.
But the thing is, like, and I think it's something I've always struggled with is like how people don't see. For a long time, I didn't understand why people couldn't see the vision the way I see it. Mm-hmm. And I can't put it into words what it looks like. But it's like the pathway just seems so clear. Like how I get there just, and how we all get there, like, I don't have a question on it. I think there's a lot of people in life, like, and it wasn't always like that. It was something that I wasn't that passionate in the car space, so I just felt like I was there. I felt like I was turning my wheels. And then like once that like started opening up and I started like getting the right people around me, I think it started making the vision more of a reality. And I think I've conditioned myself to it. Like I watch documentaries on like Walt Disney, Henry Ford, Rockefellers, JP Morgan. Like I know it's kind of weird, but it's like I pull up YouTube and there's so many different documentaries.
That's how you want to figure it out.
But it's like I look at what Walt Disney built in a lifetime, that he built something that outlived his lifetime, and he built something that he could be proud of. And I look at it as MMG, what we're building is going to build something outside of this whole leadership's lifetime. I get asked all the time about the podcast. What kept me going on the podcast 20, 30 weeks in when it had zero fucking traction, like it wasn't very good. And I was sitting there, I'm like, you know how cool this is going to be here in like 10 years when we can go back and look at the whole, we have a podcast every single week. I was like, and then one day we're all going to be gone. We're going to have kids out there. We're going to have grandkids, and they're going to say, hey, you guys want to watch how your grandparents built a MMG that then at that point, everyone's going to know what it is. No, that's badass. Like I look as, think about how many people would give anything to go get a phone call to be able to hear their parents' voice. They're going to watch the documentation of the whole entire fucking journey, from the basement to the river market to Crossroads 1 to Crossroads 2 to when we build the fantasy factory to the whole 9. It's just, that's the kind of stuff I think about. Like, I don't think about all the little things that are happening every day. All the little things have to happen. I think about, like, I'm very OCD about how all the little things stack up to the big picture, but it's like the things that most people don't think about. Like when I go in the office, like I vacuum all the time. Like that's what I'm OCD about. It's like when somebody comes in here, I'm like, I look every day I walk into the office, I look at how someone would like perceive it.
No, in the same way you're doing that is actually, I've talked to him, but, you know, we're obviously in the process dealing with the city, but we're actually, you know, we're building a building, you know, hopefully we actually got a new engineer involved. He's actually going to move twice as fast. And so we're waiting on him. We got the architects involved finally yesterday. But we're actually creating the same thing, like some of your stuff, like you probably know, like the people you see and touch, but like I can get done talking to you and I'm going to go talk to him and tell him, you got to check this out. And like, so like when we do our new office, you know, surprise, but it's going to be more of an atrium look. But the whole center is going to be open to the ceiling. And we're going to, like you stated on yours, you know, you create that kitchen that you can get people to gather in. So we're actually doing that same thing. You're going to like walk in the front. I'm giving some of the details, but there's going to be a wall with our logo, kind of like you guys got. And then you walk around it, all the offices will be on the outside. And then there's going to be a kitchen and a whole just setting area and stuff like that. Because like I said, I've even talked to a few companies that we do business with, and they've even said, hey, we go to other places, you know, and rent their big ass office space for our managers' luncheon. They cater lunch. Well, why not do that and bring them to my office and do business with that way? And so that's,
you know how many people reach out to us for our office space? We get probably 5 people a month reach out and want to rent our office space. One, because you know how few offices out there have a full-size state-of-the-art kitchen in it? It's like very, very far and few between. Like, and I didn't know that was a thing.
Well, if you got one, we're going to have the second one.
But it's like, and I turn them all away all the time.
Right.
I'm like, no. I'm like, no, you're not coming just to like bring a bunch of random fucking people in my office. I'm like, but we do a social hour at our office. So everyone that's been on the podcast gets invited to a social hour. They're closed events, but they're networking events where we'll have 100 people through the office. We have bartender in, whole nine. We buy all the booze. We bring food in, cater it all in. And it's just this huge evening event. We pay security outside. Like, it's a blast. But it was something that the first one we did was like, I've had a lot of kind of surreal moments as we move forward, but it was like, it was one that when we stood back and we just looked at the whole office filled with everybody, it was like, that came from a podcast that we started that we
video thing.
Yeah. Normally it's Dre, so, but it was just kind of surreal to look at it and say something that we did here. That's just us talking to business owners, talking about visions, talking about growth, talking about people's stories, talking about who knows what. And there's never been much direction to this. It's just us going after it every week.
That's what we want, because I even told Melody the other day, I think you guys had one like a week or two ago at your office, or at least I seen it on Instagram. And I was like, I don't know, Melody, I don't know when they're going to invite us to this thing. They're showing up whenever they do.
Yeah. So that's like, the cool thing is, it's funny because we have business owners that we work with, like as clients. They're like, why was I not invited? I'm like, you haven't been on a podcast. I'm like, it's a closed podcast deal. I'm like, I invited you on the podcast, you didn't fucking come. And they're like, oh yeah, let us know when we can come on. But it's cool, just the network that happens inside there too. That it's crazy the variety of people that have been on here and the networks that have been made through it. And I just look at a lot of the blue collar work that we've gotten from Corey being on here with CP. Like, I mean, he's been on what, like 3 or 4 times probably.
Well, he's blown up.
Yeah. His first reel that we pulled from the first one, we're in the River Market office, got 5.5 million views on a reel on Facebook. We had like, it was like 15,000 hours of listen time in like 48 hours. At this time, we weren't even, it was Ricky and I running cameras. Like, that was pretty much the extent of our content crew. And we had construction companies all over the country calling us, wanting to do their marketing.
That's sweet.
I'm like, we're only in Kansas. I wish it would happen now because I'm like, yes.
They were like, no shot.
Yeah. At that point, I'm like, guys, I got 3 calls. I'm like, 2 of them were from Canada this morning that they want us to do their marketing. But it was just crazy that the stuff that's come from this and the connections and the network and everything else that I've had people we'll go places and they're like, oh, I watched your podcast with so-and-so. I had a guy come up to me at the gym the other day, the 2 snow days or whatever. He watched like 40 of our podcasts or some shit. I was like, that's a lot of podcasts, bro. I'm like, probably something better on Netflix you could have watched. I'm like, you can watch the Squid Games or
That's
something.
good, though. I mean, they're
Yeah,
watching
for sure.
it.
Like, I just met you, but like, I've listened to you for 60 hours.
Yeah, it is.
It's weird. You like know somebody, but you don't know them, and you just like learn so much and try and pick their brain, but you've never met them.
Yeah,
That's what I told him.
The weird thing is when we'll have people come into the office, they're like, "Dane, what's going on, man?" And I'm like, "What's up?" And I'm like, I feel like we've met somewhere before. And I'm like trying to like, and then later they'll be like, "Yeah, man, I've watched like 8 of the podcasts." I'm like, "So we haven't met." I'm like, "You really acted like we've been friends for a long time."
It was
I'm
one
like,
of those nights at PBR.
Yeah, I'm like, "Where did
May
we
have
meet?"
met.
It could have been.
Could have met.
But it's just like, it's kind of weird when that like starts happening, because I'll say when we have deals come in like sales wise, if they ever say that they've watched the podcast, it's damn near like 100% close every time. Because it's not like one. They're normally like, "Yeah, man, we listened to like 6 of the podcasts." I'm like, "So we've talked to you for 6+ hours before you got here." I'm like, "We're way further down funnel than we got to start." But I don't know. I think like-minded people also gravitate around like-minded people.
And that's really what it is. Because like I said, we've seen Corey a million times. And even I think I told you, Ricky, like one of those pictures we had where we were actually paving a Cameron job for Corey, and you guys got a picture of one of our guys raking behind the camera. And I texted Corey. I'm like, and I knew he used you, but I texted him. I was like, "Where'd you get that picture at?" He's like, "I'll send it to you." And I think I showed him it when I met him the first time. And like I said, it was like 3 or 4 times he bugged about it. And I was like, shoot, I'm just going to call him because now I'm on my own. I can do what I want. Don't have to ask for permission. And so, and then it's just a respectful thing when you got a 50-50 partner. And, him and I get along great, but that's kind of what it was, just to separate. I just had this next level I wanted to grow to, and it was limited because it's just like I told him, I go, what if I come to you and say I want to buy 3 dump trucks? And, it's like, well, we'll talk about it. I'm like, exactly. I don't want to. I just want to do it. And that's kind of where I'm at. Like, some people think it's crazy, And I've had some people in the very beginning. So, like, the company I worked for before, we did about probably $3 million when I was there. So our first year, I'll throw it out there, we did $4.7 million profit, almost 19%. And then like we went to 4.5, like 6 to 8 to 10. Last year was our 6th year. We did almost $13 million in work. And I took on a lot of people. I took a big step on hiring an estimator. I've been in the business 20 years, so you can imagine he's not going to be cheap. And so I was just like, he comes to I remember interviewing him, and he's like, "Yeah, this is what I want." And I was just like, "Shit." Because at that time, I'm like, "You can make what I make." And I was just like, but it takes that next growth. Like you said, you're trying to figure out how you're doing everything. But like he said before, too, there's no stopping point, whether it's the asphalt side or the trucking side. And, that's why I just said, hey, you know what? We laughed. I kept telling him, even it was fun in the beginning, when I was buying him out and we were leaving. He kind of knew because he took over, just threw him into it. And he was one guy that was going to, I wanted to take it anyways. And, and he came to me. I told him, hey, I'm going to give you this much as soon as the sale happens, everything. And, he even came to me and said his wife was like, "No, what if you don't do this? You're already doing this job." He's like, "Look, I trust Jake. He said he's going to do it. We're going to do it." I made it happen as soon as I could. I'm like, "Gee, it's going to happen September 30th? It's going to happen end of the year." I'm not for sure yet. But, and then it happened. And like I said, me and my partner, he does a concrete company. We still do business together all day long. But like I said, it's that you do got to step out. And then, and I even hired another salesman this year because it's the growth factor. And I know that if I can put more of my time even into selling, get out of the scheduling side, that you can handle that. You can keep killing it and move forward.
And that's where, we work on our whole company through day in and day out, that when you get to where you get really disciplined on timing, on like what is your time spent on, and it's something I still do. Even I do it more through my node side, but because I've done it for a long time. The funny thing was when I first started the business was when I got away from it. I was really good in the car world with it. I got into the business. I got so like pressured with everything that I got really bad at it. I got eyes open back up that I need to get better at delegating where I'm spending my time. But it's the same thing that like I have the whole leadership side. I'm like, if you want to help people out under, you figure out what they're doing every 15 minutes of their time during the day. I was like, you figure that out, you're going to figure out how to optimize that person, and you're going to be able to go through that sheet in a 4-week span and say, hey, we need a green, yellow, red marker, and we're going to go through. I'm going to tell you, greens are non-negotiables. Greens are something you're not handing off your plate. And those are things that, like, I can go through my schedule real easy in a week and tell you what my greens are. That, like, I can't miss a leadership meeting. That's something that it's there. Like, that's where time's at. if this is a meeting to help develop someone to where they can optimize more, that's a green. That's non-negotiable. I need to be doing that.
How often do you have meetings with you guys?
As a leadership side, or
Yeah.
every Wednesday morning. So it's more so, and it's more just building company structure that Dalton Logan run the whole marketing side, Alex Lauren run the whole content side, Ricky Adam run the whole sales side, then Dre runs the CFO, HR, and then we all come together every Wednesday morning. And it's more so they collect the problems during the week, and it's if there's anything that exceeds what they feel that they're comfortable handling, which most of the time they can handle the majority of stuff at this point, they bring it to that meeting. And then we have during that meeting, we have a marketing side, we have a content side, we have a sales side, overall company. And then we have our goals of what we need to be tracking over Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. But it makes it very easy, like when you're going through those things that I'm guilty also a lot of times still putting my paw into things that it shouldn't be in. I put my hand into things, I mess up the system a little bit. Like the thing that messes up the system the most is me, actually.
I can see me doing that.
Dude, it's wild too.
I
It's
go out
like,
to the job and I gotta learn to just like leave because
Yeah.
I'm like he's already got it, and I feel bad when I'm out there. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? I'm like, and then some of them be like, dude, I got it. I'm like, all right, leave. And
Like,
Fine, I'll go
the other
back.
day I get a text from Logan. He's like, hey, I need to meet with you and Dalton later. I'm like, hey, what's this on? Blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, it's later in the day. I'm like, I just want to know what it is so I can get a heads up. And he tells me, I'm like, yeah, that's totally my fault. Totally messed that up. I was like, yeah, I didn't tell you that was, like I had that conversation a few months ago. Definitely didn't tell you. I was like, jack that all up. I was like, but most of the time, if I'm injecting myself into it, I'm jacking it. Whatever that system was that we built, the system's built without me in it, as it should be. That as you scale up and everything,
it's hard to let go,
It-
especially when it's
it's very
rough.
hard, but it's also, I think what a lot of people struggle with is when you scale up and when you give that trust to other people, they are going to make mistakes. They're going to fall. You have to be okay with that. It was something that I knew we were going to take like a weird lull in business when I pretty much pulled my hand off of everything. That I was like, okay, I got to figure out financially how we float ourselves through this whole thing, because I have to take this as a learning cycle that I know I'm going to have 6 months of everyone learning what they need to do and how to do their respected areas. But then we're going to hit into a state that's going to drive the company 10x over.
Yeah, and that's what I learned like with him, because he's like, hey, we had this, I don't know what happened, and because some of it it's probably the same with you. We're so moving forward, and that when he got, he knows the business, and he was the only person that I was going to trust to have it, because at the end of the day, it's all you if something was to fail, and you don't want it to fail because these guys got your back. But one, I knew you had my back. Two, I was, I had to just kind of throw him because I couldn't even, my brother was doing a good job, but then he backed off. But I was like, I still got to do my job. And so there was some days I'd stop and talk to him, or some days I'd just throw him in it. And I'm like, God, I hope whatever happens turns out good. And sometimes he'll call and he'll be like, hey, we had this, and and I've learned that side of things to be like, let's just fix it. I've even told him that there's a few times I might get a little high voice or frustrated, but I get over it so fast. But then I'm like, well, we just got to fix it on the next one, because like you said, it's not you, and you got to learn it. And all the people that work for me in the company, he was the one I know that, hey, he's going to be able to take it if something goes wrong or if there's an issue, it's going to get fixed, and we might fuck up some shit. But and we have, and it's been very minimal, which is great. But we're as we're growing too, we're getting into more high priority jobs. Where we've got it's a certain amount of percentage slope on sidewalks and parking lots. Where these other companies go in, and we've fixed some stuff where they've failed at a few things, and they've called us and said, hey, can you fix it? And I'm so anal, like I'm out there the whole time we're fixing it just to make sure nothing goes sideways.
Yeah,
But
it's and I think that's where it comes in. That I'm going to say I wasn't always the operations guy, probably the furthest from it. I was just we're going to outwork everyone else, and we're going to just bust ass, and we're going to make it happen. Like it was just that kind of mentality that I carried. And I was like, a lot of these people waste time on meetings with all these operations bullshit and everything else. I'm like, we're not doing that. And then as we've progressed, I'm like, okay, I see why they're doing that. I was like,
see, and that's that's why I asked you, because we kind of had a little thing set, and I was like, this is a freaking waste. And now as we're growing, because we went, starting the business, in 2019, you got total of 11 people. Now I have 23 people that work for myself, and that worked for me. And then we're behind 3 more because of the trucks. And so, like, that's why I said, how often do you have meetings? Because I'm like, man, we should probably add these back into the weekly with at least the salesman, and where he could get, like, maybe he gets the guys going in the morning. We can say, hey, 10 o'clock, we're having a meeting, so he can be there and figure out the scheduling, because I love what I do. I love selling. And at the end of the day, like you said, leaving something when you're left behind, and that's going to be me, whether it's me trying to be one of the big guys, Superior Bone one day, 6 plants at the top, been passed down for generations. But the biggest to us is like when Ricky came out, and one big thing that's on my heart, is when we did the Ronald McDonald House. That's not just something that I chose to do. When I was 16, or my sister was 16 years old. She's like 4 years older than me. She was diagnosed with melanoma cancer from the tanning beds. She's carefree now, has kids. One's about to graduate high school. But when my mom lived with us up north, and she was taking care of me and my 3 sisters by herself. She was here at Ronald McDonald House. Me and my 2 sisters. She was with my sister the whole time. 16, graduate. Her actual boyfriend dumped her at the time. He said he couldn't deal with it. So you got a 16-year-old girl, and at the time we was in Cameron. She's capping her cheerleading. She's losing her hair. So Ronald McDonald played a big part in that. And so like this year when we, and I'm never a big person on recognition. I try to stay very humble. But he showed up to that. And the biggest this time, because I was by myself, I made it entire about the company. So I told everybody in the company, truck drivers, seal guys, his crews, I said, I want everybody there at 9 o'clock. I want the whole company giving out the check, for 20 grand. And then we were watching the video, and like Cam and a couple of guys even said stuff. Watching the video about this kid, I'm about to lose it and start crying the whole time. I'm a baby when I see people cry. I see all my guys like staring at me. I'm like, God, please don't do this, please. And then like, cause everybody, even down there, like, we're waiting for you to lose it. And I was like, and we walk out, and it's even, I'm a pretty strong faith person. So it's even like, God was messing with me a little bit. And so, and even when I did what I did, I made it about the whole company, because without them, I couldn't do that. And before we got to leave, nobody knew what I was going to do. I didn't know what I was going to do until after watching this movie and this video of this little kid. I think it was with his heart on the outside. And it just touched me so much. And like I said, it wasn't Ronald McDonald House that I just chose to do something. There's a reason behind that. And so basically, I was like, hey, look, nobody knows I was going to do this. I want all you guys to know, without you guys that was part of this business that was able to make me make this donation. But I said, hey, I want to be able to give this amount of money on top of what we already did to Ronald McDonald House. And then, of course, I'm tearing up while we're saying it. But it wasn't just something, how some companies just want to donate. This had nothing to do with that. There's a reason behind that donation.
And I think so I talk about it all the time. I talk with people internally. I talk with people, on the podcast, but life has levels. You look at, you're in a survival state. That's where a lot of people on the planet live. You get to a status state. That's where a lot of people end up finalizing their life at. You get to a freedom and a purpose state. And I look at when you truly start finding purpose in life, and you truly start finding out that there is something a lot more important than making money. Mm-hmm. And it's something that when I came out of college, I'm telling you, I was the most money hungry. I lived for work, which I was really good at what I did. I took care of people. Like, I feel like I got paid for a service, and I was really good at delivering a service, helping people out. But it was like, I was so money hungry, and like the purpose of what we're all doing. And today we have Big Brothers, Big Sisters in. We help with
seen that on your guys' thing a couple weeks ago.
So we help with all their marketing. I'm one of the vice presidents of PAL on their board. We do a lot with Folds of Honor, so we do all their marketing. And it was this little light we help, but it's like we have all these different like charitable causes that we help out with that I feel like gets to hold a higher purpose of what we're doing. But those are the things that get me excited. It's funny, like we'll have big accounts come in that are high dollar and they close, and I'm just like, I'm excited to help a business owner grow 100%. But it doesn't get me excited like when I can go help 100 kids get food tomorrow. Like there's a whole different purpose behind it.
That's what happens. It just makes you feel better. Like nobody knows much right now, but I met with this guy named Rodney, and we're getting ready to get started probably sometime in the beginning of the year. But it's another kind of like that. At the end of the day, when we're dead and gone, I want somebody to say, because of that guy, I'm here today, or because he made a difference in ours. It's huge on veterans. I have tons of family members in it. My fiance's in it. But like we're getting ready to do, I'm huge on first responders. met this guy named Rodney. We're going to start doing something with him. It's called Answer the Call. So it's basically for first, like, cops, firefighters that have issues. And what got me is somebody, my buddy Chad Durth owns KC Trends. So his ex-wife was telling me about it. So I got on their page, and what will get you, unless you're ready, don't watch it. But you get on their page and you watch a video of it. I watched this Independence firefighter that was doing everything right in life, and ended up getting cancer. And lost, his job had to go to. He didn't lose it. He's back. Had to go to the side, and these people stepped up to make a difference for his family. And like you said, is one creating something from M&G that's going to make a big difference. And then, like with me, I want to create something, the same thing that's going to be like. It doesn't matter about the asphalt world no more. It doesn't matter whatever business I go in, later on in life. Is like I want to know that I made a difference because this year I've lost some people that have been my age or really close. One of my friends, she got cancer in May and July gone. She's my age, 37. So I've really sat back and looked at life this year. Like I want to try to make a difference in other people. Like you said, I've been truly blessed to be where I'm at, go so fast in the drive, and then getting the people behind me that have the same vision. And so, like, that's why I want to get to the point. Like you said, now I feel like, I'm going to keep growing. Like he says all the time, like I say, there's no stopping point. But, I feel like I'm getting pretty close to that point that I now have a purpose, to do stuff for other people.
And that's what I talk with our whole company on, like what the purpose is of everybody. That we all have a larger purpose, and I want everybody to find that. And it's not just a me thing; it's a company thing. It's company wide. That
it's not even your company. I'll be upfront with you. What little we've been doing, stuff with each other. Like I tell him, I tell Melody, I tell Jaquan. Like I got done talking to you after that, and I probably talked to 3 people. It's that I'm 37, so you're a little younger than me, but you surround with those people, and like I see what you're doing, and I can be around you and get fired up. And that's the kind of people that I want to be around because I see what you're doing. Like I told him, and I'm like, dude, we gotta do the same. And hope there could be one day we could team up on the same stuff and really make a difference for some people.
And that's what's cool too is when you get involved in those kind of things. I thought as I would like go higher up the totem pole of business owners, as I would sit with bigger CEOs, and when I talk about operating as a business that's way larger, when I get around those kind of people, I see what they're allocating their time at, and they're sitting on these big charity boards. They're sitting, and when we went to the most wanted auction, there was $1.46 million.
That's the Big Brother thing I think I've seen you had, yeah.
Yeah, the Big Brothers Big Sister most wanted auction there's $1.46 million raised that night. Like, and the amount of business owners and high level people that were there to come together and make something like that a reality. It's something that there's all these people that can create a bigger movement. And I'm in a bourbon page that I buy secondary bourbons stuff, and it's like, I don't know if I probably should say that online, but hopefully there's nobody calling. Somebody might, yeah, we'll just bleep that out. But so I'm on this thing where you can buy bourbon, but there's a guy in Kansas City. I actually don't know him, but it popped up, and guy's in his mid 30s, got colon cancer, and I was telling Masson about it, and I donated to the guy. I've never met this guy, and his GoFundMe page, I'm looking at this post in this closed group, and it's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people here in Kansas City donating to him. That it's somebody that none of these people even know. And then I'm talking to Masson on the phone. She calls me. She goes, the craziest thing is, she goes, Paige, I work with, she goes, she's actually friends with that guy's wife. And it was just like, how small of a world it is and how all these things connect and how it all like happens. That everyone wants to think it'll never happen around them. And I talked to a lot of people about this. Is like, I don't feel bad when old people die. Like when an old person passes away, I don't really like, they had their life. That's a guarantee. We're all going to get old. We're all going to die. The guarantee, I say that's a guarantee. The guarantee is we're all going to die. We hope we all get old and die. My brother and I have had to go to so many funerals. I can count more than 2 hands of funerals I've had to go to of people that haven't even made it to my age.
I was telling you, that girl's my age, and she was like commenting on, me and Jay's stuff, and then like everything was good. It was normal. And then like on May, I was just like, actually everything was good and normal. And then when I like somebody said, "Oh my gosh, she passed away," I was like, "What?" And I look on there, and literally May is when it hit. And I'm like, "God, she's my age. She's 37." I was just like, "Gosh, it's not even." You know, now it's the point like you just said. One person can do a lot, but if you can get a team to make a difference, that's where it's at.
That's the other thing too. I look at business is like I don't know how long my run is. Like the one thing I can tell everyone all the time is like there's people that fear death, and I don't fear it at all. If I die in a car wreck tomorrow, I'm cool with it. Like it's something that if that's my stamp, I'll tell you what, I've had a good 30 years. Like my run's been good. I've done everything I need to. I can tell the way that I live my life every single day leads me right to where I'm supposed to be. My problem earlier this year, April, I had a little bit of a scare, but it was something that like, it was the first time in my life I truly thought like I thought that was it. And at that point though, my biggest fear I had when I was laying there in the hospital, bleeding out fucking everywhere, like having a huge problem. My deal was in my head. What I was worried about at that time was MMG wasn't built where it was supposed to. I didn't do what I needed to for the people around me. For the second half of the year was like, you want to talk about gasoline on a fire? We came out like a fucking rocket ship the second half of the year. But it's also my thought process is I have to build something. I have a $10 million life insurance policy now in the company. I have life insurance for Madison. I set all this stuff up.
What's crazy is you did that, and literally, I was telling him about it like a month and a half ago. You know, my buddy Dwayne Bartlett's my mentor. I look up for him. He's CFO for Principal Financial. He used to own his own company and stuff like that. And we actually sat down, and he was like, "As you're growing," he goes, "What happens if something happens to you?" And so I was actually telling him the other day, it's crazy that happened. You know, I didn't have any scare, but you know, he's like, "You got to get serious on this because you're young, you're making this, but what if you just get hurt for a little bit? You need something to cover." And so I was explaining literally that to him after I left the meeting, you know, about he was like, "Hey, we got this bucket, this bucket, this bucket. This bucket goes to Jay, this bucket goes to keep moving the company, whether you have somebody you can give it to or you find somebody soft. So these guys are taken care of." And so that's crazy that it literally happened. I literally did that less than a month ago.
Yeah, it was literally something I thought about, and I was like, and it wasn't that I feel like majority of MMG to this point, I've been the growth driver. I feel like that's kind of been like my main role. And it was something that I feel that at that point, I was like, well, I feel like they could run the marketing of the accounts we have. Like, I have to get that growth piece. That was like that final puzzle piece.
You got badass dudes because I can promise you. And obviously, I talked, you know, we have Darby, but I'll text Ricky for anything. And so, like, and it doesn't matter who you got. We've talked to a couple people, Darby, him. I'll call him, and he was like, "What's up, bro? What are you doing? What you got?" Like, it's not even like a sad thing. It's like every time I call somebody with your staff or you, or we had a little issue, like, it's just literally like everybody's just excited to work. And like I tell him, and I've told my guys, I'm like, I need to create a workplace like this guy's got. I go, these people are happy, they're cool. You call one of them, it's not like, "Hey, Jake, what's up?" It's like, bro, what's up? What you got going on? I'm like, that's what every time I call Ricky, it's that same exact thing. It's literally like, "Hey, Jake, what's up, bro? What's happening?" I'm like, I'm in a better mood talking to you. It's just,
but the crazy thing is like the company, which I will say, like,
I've never had anybody in any kind of like sour or bad mood I've ever talked to.
So I am you can ask them, they kind of get worn out on it sometimes about my energy spiels that I give. But it's like energy, like if you go in one of our offices, music better always be playing. Like when I come in the morning, truck fucking music's blaring, that garage door opens up, I pull in. I mean, it's like cranked all the way up. It's normally big rings. Got a really big team, got to get really big rings. So it's like, so I come in playing music, and like when I get out of the truck, it's like, I'm like, "Alexa, play Rick Ross radio, turn the volume all the way up." And then it's just like the whole office. And like,
that's what he said. He's like, "You're going to get a garage door like you got when I can see you doing that when you build a building." I was like, I don't know, but I guess, I mean, we'll see what happens through the process.
But it's just like that vibe. Like I sit there and it's something that I want to hit all the time. It's the same thing we've worked at the new office. Like,
you have it going for you. I can tell you that much as a customer.
I appreciate that. And I try so much, like so hard on that. And it's the littlest things make the biggest difference. Like we have a pallet of water delivered like every other month that like they're all logoed and everything. Like when you get a water in the place, like
I was
when
going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
I was like, we got to do this too.
But it's just like those little things, just like it adds up. like to what the big picture is. Like I tell people the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And it's amazing when people come in, like you get a folder from us, everything's soft touch. Like you spin up.
We did that on actually the back of our new business card,
Yes.
soft touch. And we were actually at an event for the apartment association. And then because I think you said it's like a 70% they're going to hold on to it longer.
Yep.
And so we're at this apartment, and I don't know I'm very involved in the AAKC of Kansas City. We're on the board, and I'm handing out cards. People sitting beside me like, "What do you do?" And I'm literally sitting the whole time. This guy is just doing this, just filling up our card. And he's like, "I can't put this fucking thing down." And I was like, "Actually," he said, "I've heard it's the 70% attention. You're going to hold on to it longer." And then he's just sitting there doing his thing. So we spent the extra money. And what's crazy, we haven't got it all yet. Melody, I think, was going to reach out to Ricky. But she was like, we're going to, we have a trifold flyer. I'm like, I don't want that. I go, Moss has this actual page. One side soft touch. One side says their prices. Can we just do that? And so,
but it's funny, like every time like Ricky's talking to the print guy will be like, well, we could do that, but I could do this and be cheaper. I was like, I don't want the fucking cheaper price. I'm like,
That's what everybody else does.
That's what everyone fucking does is they want the cheapest thing. I go, I want the most expensive thing you make. I'm like, if we're getting this done, what's the most expensive way we could do it?
Or your guys' business card, they're metal or whatever.
Yeah, like when somebody gets one of my business cards, I promise you, the motherfuckers are never getting thrown in the trash. Every single time I give one to somebody, they're like, I literally like today I gave out like 3, and I gave one out to the lady that was at the restaurant. She's like, I've been wanting to get it marketed. And I hand her a card. She's like, you guys are the real.
That's what ours has that asphalt texture on one side, and the other side the soft touch. You'll hand it to them, it'll immediately go like this.
Yeah.
So like I'm like, okay, it's working. Like I said, and that's the biggest is like we do a lot of that. Like I do, most of our selling. I'm letting a little bit of it go. That's why I hired another guy to take some of that off of me. And and we get that. Like I've walked off jobs because I'll go out there and talk to them. And they'll be like, hey, we're gonna get like 7 or 8 estimates. I'll be like, look. I'm no hard feelings. I'm probably not going to bid the job because I can promise you I won't be the cheapest. And I live by the same motto. 2 mottos is one, you can't be the cheapest and have the best product. And then my mentors always told me, I tell my salesmen it all the time, he's always like, in the absent of value, price matters. Like, because I'll tell him some things. He's like, don't limit your product. He goes, you know what you got. And what set us apart in the business that we're in, and he knows, there's so many companies, and it's in any industry probably, there's so many companies that do the wrong way or cheat the system. We don't. Like, I don't know how many times I told him, I'll show up to the job, I'm like, we're doing a 2-inch over. I'm like, what are we doing? Come up. Like, I'm not fucking the client. Like, that's just, I'm big on that. And they may be doing it to get water, but that's probably like what you said. You step in and you're probably like, oh, okay, I probably shouldn't have said anything. I go up to the job. He's like, I got it. I'm like, okay, fuck, I'll leave.
Yeah, but it's like never set your value based on someone else's budget. Yeah, ever. And it's my thing is when I do the business cards and we do all the print, we do everything else, and we focus on the space. Like we were talking about today in the sales group of how many people come in. They're like, "What's our ROI?" We need to know what the ROI is. And like we get it on websites all the time, and they'll be like, "We want to ramp up our website. We want to change. So what's the ROI?" I go, "Nothing." I go, "That's the cost of doing business." And they'll look at me like, "What?" I go, you come in here. I go, you think when I bought $100,000 worth of furniture for my office, I asked Nebraska Furniture Mart what my ROI was on my couch? I go, does that make any sense? There's cost of doing business. I'm like, there's certain things that you need to. I go, is there a legitimate business out there? Do you think when Main Event builds their website, they're asking what their ROI is on it? Like, yeah, you can go market through Google. You can market. You have to drive everything into that site. You can sit there and you can work on your SEO. You can do ads. You can do everything else. But your website has no ROI by itself. Yeah. And it's crazy that like when I'm explaining this to people, they're like, okay, that kind of makes sense. And there's just that there's a cost of doing business. There's a cost of doing business. And I look at it as if you walked into Texas Roadhouse, you walked into Eddie V's or Kaplan, take every single person out of there. If you went and just took a lap around, could you tell me what the price tag, could you tell me which one was more expensive? What? You're telling me if you walk through Capitol Grill and you walk through Texas
shit,
Roadhouse. Yeah, if you walk through Capitol Grill
yeah.
and you walk through Texas Roadhouse, I was like, which one's more expensive? You're like, oh, that one, for sure.
Yeah, for sure, Capitol.
Like, but it's same thing. If I handed you 2 business cards, somebody that worked at Texas Roadhouse, somebody that worked at Capitol, you could tell me which one was more expensive. Where it's like all the things that everyone wants this value point, everyone wants to be this premium price tag. but they want to do everything else at the cheapest price tag. So if you're going to be the premium price tag, you have to align all of it. Why do people spend the money that they spend to go to Disney World? I'm down in, I go to Disney World. I go to one of the Disney resorts every single year. Like January, I go down to Florida. We're down there. I golf for a week. And one day, my wife and I go to Disney World or one of the other resorts. And she was like, "You're obsessed with doing this." I'm like, "I don't really care if I'm like most people think I'm like going for everything else." I'm like, I just like going to admire what someone built. I go there and it's mind blowing how someone built something that has that much buy-in. They had built like a $2 billion Star Wars thing and everyone's dressed up as if they're in Star Wars. They're talking like they're in Star Wars and everything. I'm like, how the fuck did you find this many people to act like this around here? I'm like,
All day.
I'm like, all day. I'm like, this is wild.
You see that when we went to Orlando Studios, you walk around and you're like, I'll never wear that. These people are happy. I'm
And
like,
they're on cloud nine. And they're making minimum wage. I'm like, this is nuts. But it's just like seeing that though, and you see what tickets cost to go into that place, and you see them sitting there selling ears, Mickey Mouse ears, at Groves at like $60 a whack, and people are lined up buying them. I'm like, don't tell me that it's hard to sell something at a price tag. You don't understand how to build the value to get the price.
I think the same thing, like I said, when he said in the absent of value, price matters.
Yeah.
He's so big, because I'll talk to him about, hey, I don't have the problem no more, but in the first couple of years, I was like, well, he's like, do not limit your product. And so, like, I was like, okay. And, when that first year, but, you're profiting, that much. And, and it was a blessing to be where I was at last year when I bought my partner out. We own 95% of everything we had. So I was able to take money against that to purchase it. And so, but, now I'm like, the bank was like, what are you doing here? Because, I went out and I was like, I'm tired of fixing shit. So I'm like, I'm buying 3 new trucks. I don't care. One for myself. And I gave him mine. And I go, I'm buying 2 other work trucks. I'm tired of fixing stuff. And then I actually called him yesterday, my bank, and they go, hey, I need to move these over to you there at Fort Credit, little crazy. And he goes, yeah. He goes, I need the title for this. I sold this truck. He's like, all right, what are we replacing with? And there's one dump truck for like $30,000. He goes, what are we replacing with? I said, well, actually, I'm buying 3 and they're $265 a piece. And he was just like, huh? I go, yeah, I mean, I've got work for him. I go, what, he goes, all right. I go, I just mean make sure it doesn't affect me building my building, but I've already signed this stuff, so we're rolling. And so he was just like, he goes, and he even told me his name's Ethan. He's like, you are crazy, but he goes, for some reason the owner likes you of the bank, and it's it's Farmers Bank. But when I met with the owner, his last name's the same as mine.
Oh my God,
so
we're related.
That's what I actually said. I even told him. So I walked into the bank. My buddies like, go to this bank, do this thing, and I was like, all right, I need to find somebody that's cool. I don't want a huge. They got 90 banks, but they're all down south. So I walk in. The guy comes in. His name's JT Robbins. I'm like, got this. He's like, I heard of Robbins in the building. I had to come in. And then, like, so he came in the room, he shook hands, and that's right there, that sold the deal. I mean, you got the owner of the bank, he comes in, acts like nothing different. And then, so then his son comes in, and he was like, Robin's like, well, yeah. I go, I always wanted an older brother. And he was like, me too. And he goes, I said, we could be related, you don't know. And he's like, was you born over in Missouri? I was like, shit, no, Kansas, we're not related. But like, and then I left there, and I had another bank I was going to talk to. They actually reached out to me. They said, hey, because we owned almost everything. They said, hey, you want to do this? Actually, man, I'm not even interested. I'm at this bank.
I got an older brother out of the deal.
Yeah. My real dad's here, I think, and grandpa. Like, I've never met my real dad. This could be him. I mean, the last name spelled the same. And so, they didn't leave me anything, but. So
he's still alive, so maybe I still got a chance.
Yeah, exactly. So this is maybe the connection we needed all along. So my mom didn't tell me shit. So I mean, I don't know what she was doing. So
no, that's. I think it's crazy too, though, that there's a lot of people out there that, like my brother tells me all the time. He's like, "You're the luckiest human being I've ever met." I was like, I think just good things happen to good people. I go, you do the right thing in the world. I go, the right things are going to happen.
And people have said something to me. Hey, you're lucky. I tell people I don't even believe in luck.
I don't either.
It's just the good karma and just being blessed. I mean, it's 100%. You do the right thing. It's got to come around.
And that's right. I look at so many people around me too. I look at good things happen to all the people around me, but it's like when you do good in the world, it comes back to you. And it's like, if you want to call that luck, then great, call it luck. Like whatever you want to call it. Like, but it's also, I think that certain things just happen. Like when you go into a bank like that, you go into those things like you're always exactly where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. And I think that's the way I look at opportunities in our world. I look at just everything that it's like when I show up somewhere like today when we were eating sushi and this lady like starts talking to us about her marketing degree and everything. And she's been wanting to get a job in it. And I'm like 45 minutes ago, I was thinking about grabbing a sandwich next door. I was like, and then we're here. I was like, and now I think we might have gotten prime candidate as a new marketing person. But it's just like, I'm walking out there. I'm like, right, well, we were supposed to be there. And I was like, I walked over to Ricky's office. I'm like, you had lunch? And if he would have said he had lunch, I was getting a sandwich. He said he hadn't had lunch. I'm like, we're going to see if the sushi place is actually over there. Like, it shows it's on the map, but we'll go see.
No, and that's how it worked out. And I think that's how him and I fall. Like I said, we were going a certain direction, but like, it's kind of the people below you have to have the same vision. We're going in the same direction. And, and I always, stay, you got that guy below you that maybe it's not working, but I'm like, it's kind of like, I'm going to keep doing this, but you got the guy below you that's stuck here. And so that's why I was kind of like, hey, I wanted to change. I was trying to be nice about it. And, when he stepped up, I knew it was going to be him, but I was like, this is yours. Take off with it.
Yeah.
And it worked for him. And, and I hope feels the same way. And he's reached out to me before. He's like, hey, probably, same as you got. He's like, I'd like to, I'm going to be here for a long time. I like the growth. I want to sit down with you, maybe go to dinner or lunch. I want to pick your brain, like where you're going to go. I know where you want to go, but let me sit down because you're going to get to that point, that it's growing so much that, to keep those right guys. I'm like, like I told him, it might be get to the point where, I want to keep growing. I think he wants to move as fast as I do, and that's what we got to have. And, of course, you got to have the right people in place. And, I've talked to him a bunch about it. And you get nervous sometimes because you're like, well, people can leave, but you want to make it where they don't. Like, I tell people, I'm like, you could talk to my guys. They're not leaving. You can probably offer them more money. They're not leaving because they know what they got, because I've done some things that you've done where I've helped some guys out where they needed money. Even financially, I couldn't afford it. It didn't come from the company. It came from me personally because, you got to try to make it right. But, I get to that point that, hey, it might be a point to lock this guy down. I'm going to say, hey, you're going to get a percentage of what the company does it.
I will say, anytime you get A players, the one thing I can guarantee you is other people will poach A players. That I've had it within our company. That
I think you put it on Facebook, and you're 100% right, because sometimes when I'm posting something and I want to, and if you see our posts, now you guys do a lot of them, but like if I just post something on my personal story, I tag everybody in the business in it. And before I was nervous because I'm like, if they find out who the fuck Mason is, I'm in trouble. But I was just like,
they're just gonna click on him right there.
I was just like, you know what? If that's what God wants, is what's gonna happen. But I want to create that where you talk to them. It don't matter.
But the other thing too, though, is I look at it as I've had talks with people in the company that have had opportunities elsewhere, and they're like, "Hey, I was offered more money. I was offered a signing bonus, whatever it was." And I was like, "I wish I was in a state to give that to you because you are worth it." I'm not questioning a value, and that's the thing is I will never question someone's value. I'm like, if someone's willing to give that, then that is true. But I'm like, what does that look like in 3 years or 5 years?
That's most people don't see that,
because that's where I live in, is like the long-term game that we're playing. And it's you want to look at a long-term game. I'm like, what business are you going to put up in a 4.5 year span that's had the growth that we have? That's hard, small.
Yeah, I think 6 years going from 0 to 13 million. Yeah. And that's kind of just
you're in a small window. So it's like, so if you can show that growth and you can show what that looks like, is that a company that, like, I've had it where it's like companies that have been around for 30 years. I'm like, they've been in the same fucking spot for the last 15 years.
I think if you create the atmosphere that you've created and people around you that kind of like, they know what they got, and that was the biggest of me on taking that leap to go for that other company before I left to start my own. And I told that guy, I go, look, you got people working for you. I know more. I'm only answering to you. I'm not interested because, like, I'm not going there and having 5 bosses. And the owner matched it, but I probably would have still stayed because I know what I had there and I know where we was going.
But the other thing in our world too, that there's a lot of business owners that I think run from the state, that they talk to employees and they talk to people that work for them, and that they're lucky to have a job there. I'm the lucky one in the equation. I'm lucky to have every single person, if we want to call it luck, if I'm blessed, whatever terminology you want, I'm the one that's fortunate in the equation. That I have all these amazing people around me that get to help build this vision, that get to be a part of it. And that's why I've never operated in front of anyone. I don't operate behind anyone. We operate side to side on all of it.
And I've seen that from you on things. That's why when I talked to Ricky, we did the Ramadan. I was like, the last 2 years we donated, it's me and my business partner. And I said, I'm changing that. I wanted about everybody in the business. Yep. Because without them, or even the extra donation that I did, I wanted, hey, if you guys wasn't here doing it, I know I can't do it by myself. Yeah. And that's one reason why I left the old company, because when we did it, he took care of me pretty good. But I'll never forget it, because at one point he was like, I don't care about these guys. We'll find new guys. I'm like, well, fuck, we can't. I'm like, no, we can't find new people.
There is a state, though, that when there's people that don't buy in and they don't take care of the people that are next to them, I have a really hard time, because my deal is I look at it as we're a football team that's showing up to play. You have an offense in there. You have a defense in there. You have coaching staff. You have everyone that makes up the whole thing. Patrick Mahomes does not go out and win games by himself. And when you hear Patrick Mahomes go up and talk after a game after they've lost, it's all on his shoulders. He doesn't go up there and say, hey, my wide receivers didn't catch today. You don't hear that dude get up there and make excuses and point fingers at anyone else. He takes ownership of them.
Even when they win, he's shouting out the rest of them.
So then the thing is, when our wins come, so the whole team gets it.
And that's why I fed that off of you guys. Because, trust me, and I still keep saying you, because he kind of got it in Corey, but I watched that. My fiance thinks it's crazy because I've done watched all your shit on Instagram, so there's no more to watch except the new stuff. That's why I was up to date last week with the taco place, because I'm like, I need to do it the same way. One of my friends, he knows my dad for a long time. He's well, and he owns Davis Paint, huge union paint company. If you go in his building, it looks like a regular metal building, but he's got a whole fitness thing in there for his guy. He's always preached to me, make it about the people that work here. He goes, make it fun. They'll never go nowhere. And then that's why I followed you, and I see those little things, and that's why I said this time, I said, hey, I told Melody, I go, let's schedule it for the 20th. It's a Wednesday. I knew what we were doing 3 weeks from before that. So I said, hey, everybody starts, we're going to be there at 9 o'clock. I go, I want the whole team to be a part of it. And it makes those guys feel better, because without those guys working in the field every day, making what they make and doing what they do. And I feel like I pay my guys really good. There's people that are how much you pay, your truck drivers? I'm like, this, or how much you pay your guys? I'm like, I'm at 22, not knowing nothing. And so they're like, what? I'll do mine at 15. I'm like, well, that's why you're going through people, and I'm not. Because I figured probably the same way you kind of do. I figured you get them in there. I'm paying them kind of top for not knowing anything. If it don't work out, we just got to separate ways. Yeah. We've had guys, I've sent a guy out to his job, and he's like, look, don't bring this motherfucker back. We had one last year, and I was just like, I go, hey, how's it going? He's like, dude, no. I go, you're in charge. And I've learned that to let that part go. I'm like, hey, you're running the crew. You don't want him?
But the other thing, too, that I've started learning that there's a lot of value point into it is when I let Dalton or Logan, or I let Alex or Lauren or Ricky and Adam, whoever it is in their respective departments, hire their people, that I like to give a stamp of approval kind of deal. So I'll take a second interview. They have to vet the first interview to get to me. But if they've given their stamp of approval and then I say yes and then they come on, they're more invested for that person's success. Because then when that person comes on, Ricky and Adam told me that he was good. Dalton and Logan said, hey, yeah, this guy checks out. To where now they're invested in the same success. Instead of being like, you threw me this random fucking dude, and now I'm supposed to do X, Y, and Z, or this random girl to try to help out. I don't know anything about her. For now, it's like any time that somebody wants to come into MMG, respected departments, they interview them first. Then some of them, I'm like, if they're lights out, go for it. You don't have to come to me. If it's something that you want a final stamp of approval from me, I'll handle the final.
And he has that sometimes. He's talked to me before. He's like, it's your company, man. I'm like, you're running the crew.
But it's like, if you're going to work with someone day in and day out, like, I'm not at the other office every single day.
Yeah, you don't want to be somebody they don't want to work with.
Yeah, if I hire somebody, and trust me, I've had my fair share of people I've hired that everyone around me is like, not a good hire. And then I'm like, ended up not being a good hire. So I'm like, I mean, everyone outside externally gets to see all the wins. They get to see all this cool shit on Instagram and Facebook and all that we put out. What people don't see is we failed like 90% of the time over here. Like, that's what isn't all over social. Where it's like social gets to be your highlight reel of all the great shit.
And we've done that where we've had people. What's crazy is, and it's so much harder these days. I've hired truck drivers where they come in. Like I've told him, I go, dude, this guy's starting tomorrow. This guy's talked to me, talked it up, gave him what he wanted. You know, he showed up the next day. He's like, I'm like, dude, didn't even show up. I'm like, hey, how'd this guy do? He's like, he's not even here.
Dude,
like,
crazy as shit. We'll literally have people that are like, hey, yeah, came through, interview, great. Like, I think it's a good fit, blah, blah, blah. They just never show up. I'm like,
what's great is when they call you a couple weeks later and you're like, dude, seriously?
Dude, I literally had a dude, and it's like, I hate, like.
We worked the past 3 weeks. I don't know if you noticed.
Like, you didn't show up, so you wouldn't know.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like,
you didn't get a paycheck, but.
But it's like, I hate, like, outing people, but I've had dudes literally text me, like, the day after that they were supposed to show up, like, hey, yeah, I decided against it. And then text me, like, 4 months later, like, hey, could I interview for that job again? I'm like, I'm not even wasting my time to send a text back.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're not getting a text back from me this time.
We had a couple of dudes that work for us, and they've done that. They've quit. They, like, got mad at, like, I don't know what happened, but they got, like, mad. They're like, well, we're not going to do this with us. I'm like, if you don't go the next job, you're fired. And then they're like, well, I guess I'm fired then. Or I'll call them like, where are they? Like, they didn't show up. I'm like, oh, hell no. And then literally, like, I don't even told you, but I've had a couple of them like, yo, boss, you ain't need to work out. I'm like, I ain't talked to you in 3 months. I don't do the same thing. I don't even respond. I'm like, dude, seriously?
Dude, I've
Got
learned
a business to run here.
The way that people's like mind works sometimes, like I've had content people walk out and tell me that they're going to go do it on their own so they don't have to pay taxes. I was like, come again? And they're like,
Getting around that.
Yeah. I go, they're going to collect it. And they're like, well, I was watching videos online because I'm W-2. You take my taxes. I'm like, oh, you think that's my money? You think I get that money? I go, I pay employment tax on top of what your tax. I was like,
and that's, he sees that, but I used to have some guy, oh, you're making all this money. No, you don't see that. I'm matching your 401k. I'm matching half your health insurance. And like you said, it's not only it's coming out of your check, I'm paying on top of it.
Yeah.
Like, you don't see that number of it.
They're like, well, I'm going to go out, and if I'm 1099, I don't get taxed. I'm like, no, you get a 1099 from the companies you work for. I go, they're going to call you on your taxes.
I've done that one time before I started in the asphalt. I worked for this guy for the last high school year of my summer. And I was 19 or 18, and I made like 60 grand. I was like, oh, hell yeah. This dude gets audited, and I get a thing in the mail, like $15,000 in taxes. I was like, oh, shit. I go, he told me he wasn't going to tax me, but he's not going to take the hit. And so I was just like, one thing, like you said,
he's like $60,000 write-off. Bet. Yeah.
I mean, you're not getting over taxes. Guaranteed, you're gonna pay taxes. Something's gonna happen. We're gonna pass away later in life. We're not getting past neither one of those things. We ain't screwing Uncle Sam.
Oh,
he's gonna find you. It might be 10 years. Uncle Sam's gonna find you.
I had a content guy that left, and he was doing shit on the side. So that's why we ended up like parting ways. Like I told him, like, you're signing this, and this. Like you're not doing shit for other businesses. Like the dude would pretty much go in, and when a business was like, hey, we can't afford you, he was like, backdoor, and he'd be like, I can do it cheaper.
Oh, shit. And
he couldn't do all the marketing shit. He thought content was all that we sold. Not super educated, whatever. But so then he goes out and he's like,
the scenes on stuff.
Yeah, he's gonna try to do it on his own. So he has some accounts. So he's been doing it for like 12 months, and so he couldn't have made that much money for what he was called on end of the year for taxes. But he texted one of our content guys we had at the beginning of 2024. He's like, Dane's got to end with the IRS, and he fucked me on my taxes. I was like, oh, you think I got to end with the IRS? I'm like, I wish. I'm like, that'd be awesome. He's like, I got taxed for like almost $10,000. I was like, I look at the content guy. I was like, well, apparently he didn't make very much. If you only got taxed for 9,000 something. And he's like, I don't have the money. I'm like, what the fuck is he taxing us? Thinking that's our problem at all. I was like, yeah, that taxes that he didn't think he was going to have to pay, that all comes back around.
Like, he knows little things of what he paid in the past year. You make money, you're either spending it on a company or you're giving it away. There's no way around it.
It is, and that's, I think,
it sucks.
And I've tried to, I help educate the whole business on it. I had people that are like, well, Dane buys a new truck every year, so the company's making plenty of money. Like, you know that I have like a vehicle that sits inside that I write off I have that as a personal, so I can write off that whole entire thing as a business vehicle. It's over 6,000 pounds. I can write off depreciation on it. I write off depreciation. I go, it only makes sense. Then I have other people like, well, I'm going to buy this like $30,000 vehicle and I'm going to write off depreciation. I was like, no, write off miles. Your miles are going to account for way more. I go, if you're getting into depreciation, it needs to be over a certain dollar and cent. Like there's a threshold where miles and the depreciation ends up equaling more than miles. And like, just people understanding that.
The same thing. That's why I said I'm done buying this shit. I'm buying brand new stuff for the crew.
Depreciate it every year. Like you can depreciate it over 1, 2, 4, however long you want. It's like outside of that doesn't make any sense. But then you have to go over 12 months, get out of short-term capital gains. Like, but when you start learning those things and how to actually run a business, it's hard because you'll have people inside the business that have no earthly idea how that's operating. Where you're like, this is what makes sense. And then the level of thinking just isn't high enough for them to understand it.
And they think they think like, oh my God, Jake's making all this, or
they think they think you legitimately walked in with $100,000 check and gave $100,000 check for that truck.
And that's not big. I'm like, I'm still paying payments, but I'm writing it off so I don't give the money to Uncle Sam himself. I'm
like, you're writing it off. And I was like, also the perception of when companies are walking in here, I was like, I remember sitting on the other side of the table and I had these marketing companies come in trying to sell a $40,000 a month marketing deal, and they're driving a fucking $4,000 Camry.
I think you definitely looked the part.
And I was like, when I walk in, I was like, people, most time we've hit it. I'm like, yeah.
And that's what Ricky was talking to me, because we're in the process and we're moving faster now, finally, than I wanted on a building. But, I was telling him, I said, how do we do this? He's like, we need to get videos and progress. Like, people want to see you growing and growth. That's a good thing. And so, like you said, because it's the same thing, like, and that's what I tell people, you can't, if you're going to sell some shit and you're driving something, they're not buying from you. So, like, I'm big, he knows. I'm like, hey, let's power wash equipment. Let's look at nice, because you show up to the job, you're looking good, people are buying. That's like, we call them gypsies, people that come in from Texas and stuff, take work and stuff like that. They don't take much from us because we've built a very good name for ourselves. But they come and take work. Well, they get the work because they show up to this person and say, we got this extra asphalt. Well, there's trucks and the equipment's all nice as hell. So they're like, oh, fuck, they're a legit company. And so then they realize they get screwed at the end of the deal. But I'm a big believer on that. You need to look the part. And so, and like, not only like you say, you want your guys to work here. That's like big. Like I got on my own, bought my partner out. I gave him my truck. It's jacked up, lifted up. Everything looks badass. My foreman of the seal coat side. As soon as I took over, I said, hey, let's go pick out wheels and tires for your truck. Because I want them to feel good about what they're driving. Yeah. And it ain't that much at the end of the day to make your main guys feel good below you on a little thing. I like nice trucks. I'm always going to have truck with wheels and tires, whether it's lifted or not. My new truck, I didn't want it to be that high. I actually pulled up to the job one day in the stock truck. He's parked in the parking spot. I pull up next to him. He starts talking shit.
He had a littler truck, so
he's like, "This is not going to work." I'm looking, and he's like 8 inches higher than I was. I was like, "Oh hell no!" I told myself I was going to wait a little bit. It probably wasn't. But a week later, I'm getting the tires on the truck.
When I picked up that truck, I had 20, a 21, a 22, and the 23 he has, and then my 24 was coming in. And I was like, so he bought the new 23 that. Because they're like, the 24s are actually going to show up pretty early. So I was like, great. I was like, Dre, you buy the 23. So he jumps in the 23. And then I was like, the 24 shows up and I go get in it and it just drives like a fucking Cadillac. And I was like, wow, it's nice. Over my 22 that I had. And 22 was nice. I traded it in and had like 20,000 miles on it. And I'm driving that. And I told my wife, I was like, I think I'm just going to leave stock for a while. It's like, it was the first year of the Ultimate. So it has like my wife calls it the old man brown inside. And I was like, it's elegant. It's nice. It was the whole like blackout package on it, the whole 9. I had the windows tinted on it. And I was like, I'm just going to drive it. I think I had it, like a week and a half, maybe. I called my guy. I was like, hey, what do you think? I go, I want this one to still ride as nice as it does. I'm like, I want to put Kings under it. I want the 3-inch Cognito, which is just like a glorified leveling on those. I was like, I want American Forces. I'm going to go all the way on this one. He's like, or I call him. I was like, what do you think the difference is on the Fox and the Kings? He's like, well, the Kings are 4 times the cost. He goes, they do look pretty fucking legit when they're on there. I was like, all right, yeah, just go all the way. I was like, get it all ordered. I was like, how fast can you have it done? He's like, I think it took like 2 weeks for all the stuff to come in. I wanted 37s, but he told me it wasn't gonna happen. So
that's what I went with. But same thing, because I'm used to the dually. We put the bags on the back, and you're driving it. And look, if you're putting a trailer behind it and you got some weight, it's a Cadillac.
Oh,
otherwise, no way. And
those dualies when they're unloaded, they're like, wah, wah, wah.
And so when I got mine, and Chad at Casey Trend, he was like, "Hey, you need to do this, and this." I'm like, that's like $3,000 more than I spent on the last truck. He goes, trust me. And so we did the Fox, we did the extra reservoir. It just rides smooth as hell. And I was like, yeah. And I was telling him, the bad, he doesn't know this, but he had his birthday party last week when we went to it. And I'm following him, and everything in my mind, I'm talking to Jaquan, I'm like, I'm about to trade this motherfucker back in and get a dually. I go, I'm following this dude, this is badass looking behind it. And I go, this thing is just, I can't do it, but can't do it. I like being able to get in some parking spots.
The only way
you can't park that son of a bitch. You cannot park that.
The only way I get rid of, so 25, they're doing a change in like half year. So I've thought about
second half.
Yeah, so the second half of 25s will have the big. So my wife just got the 25 Yukon Denali Ultimate. So it's got the long like Tesla screen in it. It's got the screen in the back, like all this stuff. So it's
got a screen in the back.
Yeah, it's pretty legit. It's got 2 screens on up top, and it's got like a screen in the middle for all the climate control. But they're going the same thing in the 2500s, but they're doing it in a half year. So if you end up with the front half 25 and those, you're going to kind of get hosed. So it's like being in the car business long enough, I kind of know how that kind of things work out. But I've also been pretty close. If like the right F450 comes up, that would be
one thing
gone.
about it, I've got friends that love the GMCs, but they will swear up and down the ride in the Forge is better.
100%. I'm gonna agree with that. Like I agree with that. Like, yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that. Like the GMCs.
I've never had a GMC, but I'll agree, man. The front grille, the induction, and it looks sick.
The look of them when they come down the highway, like coming at you, like the second you see like a new GMC like coming down, like you can spot it from so far away. The thing that I hate the most about Fords, this is my biggest pet peeve with them, is MoDOT and everyone else fucking got groves of them. So it was like, is that a MoDOT truck or is that like a fucking $140,000 450?
It's the same with me. Like the 2 trucks we ordered, I ordered them with the chrome package and everything, and they're regular work. People think they're going to work trucks, so they look the same. But I got them all decked out with chrome package. People like, even some people like, dude, they're work trucks. I'm like, dude, I at least want the guys driving this think they're driving something else, because he knows I'm really big on clean. I tell my guy, even my salesman, I'm like, hey, you can go get a membership at the car wash. I'll pay for the inside stuff. You pay for the outside. We have an account, Riley, go buy the stuff to clean it. I'll pay for it. Your job, so you keep the inside clean. I even buy the cleaning. I'm like, go get an account. Try. I want that thing to look nice. Plus they look better, they feel better, they do better. And it's the same way with him. I try to, he keeps his clean. He's obviously got a kid, so the inside's what it is. The outside looks good.
It's what it is.
But mine looks like that sometimes too. So
I will say my truck, like, I'm not the best at keeping my truck clean.
I will drop by Charlie's. I promise you. Give them $25. They'll clean 90% of it clean.
Hey, we can't be pumping Charlie's on here. We do all the Better Wash. Shout out Better Wash. Can't be pumping Charlie's
bleep
on.
That one out.
Yeah, we're bleep that out. Hey, Xavier, bleep out whatever he said. Better Wash through and through.
Opening in Liberty.
Liberty location coming soon. So he actually lives right down the street here.
Shit.
Yeah.
You guys know you got that good technology over there.
No, but it's funny, like, so I have a new S-Class Benz that sits in the other office, and that thing's spotless all the time. Like, you couldn't open the door up and even find a crumb on the floor ever. Like, anytime I get in it, it's hitting the car wash all the time. I have a detail guy that comes through like twice a month, cleans it, make sure that thing's perfect. That thing there, like, it is brutal. Like,
I got dog hair on my floor. And my dog's never in it. I don't even know how I got it in it.
Mine's just like, I sit there and like I go to the gym in the morning. I put my boots on. I'll tromp snow in it, so the floor mats are all like white right now from salt. And then it's like when it's hunting season out, I'm just throwing shit in the back. And then it's like, half the time I'm pretty much just, I could just drive anywhere as long as I could throw some hunting stuff on myself. I'm like, I got everything in the bag. So it's just so much shit in there all the time. And then I was like up at CP and I was like, hey, I I got a camera and some mics in the back. I can do some content while I'm here too. Like, and then he's like, yeah, you sure? I'm like, let me go make sure my batteries are charged. I'm like, but it's just I got a hard hat.
Shit's been sitting back there for a month.
Yeah, I got hard hats everywhere in case I end up at a job site. But it's just funny, like the shit that's in there that I'm like, I don't know. I do a terrible job at keeping that clean. When I first got it, I was pretty good when I just had that. But then
It's easy.
once I got a second car, then I was like, that could be my clean car. Yeah. This could be my dirty car.
Problem solved.
But no, I appreciate you guys coming on. This is we go for 4 hours and not have any
yeah,
fun.
and that's the thing. I don't know. He's been there, but I think like 4 years, and he's talked nothing but good and being able to do that thing for us. I mean, if he's got anything about Asphaltic,
you got any big hitting questions or answers at the end?
no questions.
No questions.
No questions.
No, it's whatever it is. They might answer it. I don't know.
I need another drink.
I don't know. I know we got a big year ahead of us. We got a lot coming.
The biggest is we gained part of the Blue Springs Chamber. We've been part of the community leader for Independence Chamber. I think our second year there, we got our won the Small Business of the Year award. And so it sucks, but I've learned that
we got the Small Business of the Year. It sucks.
But that's the good part. But I've noticed that Independence is, you wouldn't think it, way more involved with their city and chamber than.
I was going to cheers you for the small business.
Yeah, well, we'll cheer that part.
I wasn't cheersing the suck part.
But our goal is, I talked to him, talked to the guys. Our goal is, we've got involved. We got a gala coming next Friday, and we sponsored 2 events inside the gala, 2 sponsorship. And these people were overly excited, and I'm like, this is normal for us. But so our goal is to do enough, give back, donate, hands out, do some things for some people. That next year, Asphaltic Service. Maybe one day we'll get to the point where we're
is there big business awards?
There is. They give out both.
Oh, I didn't know this thing. So that's what I was. We're talking about it on. We're entering for the Kansas City Chamber on fastest growing Kansas City business deal right now, and
that's awesome. From where you came from, where we've talked, being in your basement to where you are now, and then a second facility. That's going good.
It's going real well. I will say.
I need to stop by the office.
Yeah, you need to come check it out. It's not, the signage still needs to go up. I was kind of bummed that we didn't hit the mark by January 1. I'm very, very OCD, and I'm very I set really high standards for things, and I feel like I missed the mark on the whole thing. Even though when everyone comes by, they're like, this is fucking crazy. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not.
I had a post from a guy I follow, and he talked about being like the bad thing about being a dreamer is he's never satisfied. He's always dreaming bigger than what he's doing. And so, and I follow that stuff. Not only follow you guys, but I follow motivational stuff like that. Because they say, hey, the problem with the dreamer is they're never satisfied because they dream much bigger than they are. And I want to keep that going. And like you said, I think
it's a curse.
Time, but I want to be able to be make a big difference. But people ask me, you regret? I don't regret it. I think I've been doing everything I'm supposed to do. I was raised, and my mom did the best she could with us, gave us what she had, and I made that difference. We actually we've been working on it for over 2 years. Me and my fiance. Finally, yesterday, we met with the state. They came and did a whole inspection so we could start adopting and making a difference in some other kids' lives.
Very cool.
We've been fighting with it for forever. Finally, we ran into the right person, so they did that yesterday. So that's big on our heart to make a difference there. They just kept putting us off, and it was nothing, even financially bragging. Some people do it because they get paid. Yeah. I said, look, you guys. Because the lady called and she was like, "Can you do the fingerprints?" I'm like, "You asked for that 2 months ago. We got it done like a week later." I'm like, "Look, I'm humble financially. I don't want any help. This is something that we want to do." So the lady actually never quit talking to us. We had to go through somebody else. But I'm like, if you can get on the same page we are and start moving a little faster, this is what we want to do. So I don't need that help. There's some stuff they make you take. But I was like, so if you send it to us, just know it's done in like a day or two. She never talked to us. We had to go through another company. So she was like, screw these dudes. They ain't pissing around.
They're going way faster than I'm trying.
Yeah.
We were moving faster. But that's the biggest. In everything that we do, I want to try, like you said, make a difference. Because if we die and it's over and it's gone, what kind of mark do we leave on somebody else? Like whether it's the people working for that can carry it on, or you made a difference. And like you said, there's so many organizations that can need help and make a difference, and it'd be awesome.
Yeah,
And we'd love to team up with you. Mason's very involved in the business. I'll run by him on tons of questions, ask him little things. But like so, if you guys got something, I tell people all the time, even if we just come volunteer our time, let us know.
Well, that's the thing is we're very heavily involved in a lot of things. I mean, I think we played in like 6 back-to-back golf tournaments.
I'll sponsor. I don't know who'll be on your team, but
it's like
caddy.
Yeah, I mean, I'll leave with 18 balls and come back with like 4 different ones, and none of them was when I started. So,
Hey, you can drive a mean golf cart though, right?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
I'll lay it on the side. No, this is crazy. The last event we went to, we sponsored something for the chamber. I got it's bad. I got so hammered. We're in a golf cart. I'm with one of my salesmen. This corner just does this. And we
just came out of nowhere.
I didn't even stop. I tried to whip it, and we went up like this. The only reason we didn't tip is because he stuck his foot out. And I was like, everybody was like clapping for us, like we did something good. I'm like, I just had to buy this golf cart almost. Can't even afford to buy this thing. And we'll just drive it home, leave our truck here. I mean, it was bad.
Yeah. No,
But I can't be your caddy.
All right, I'll take that. I'm driving the cart still, though.
Right,
it sounds like you're just catching golf carts.
Either way, it's not going to be good. You're driving on passenger seat. We'll influence each other to do something.
No, I love seeing what you guys are doing as business. I'm also just very much a person with the right people around, right mindset of people. I mean, that moves mountains by itself. So I'm very thankful that our paths have crossed. And
I think, you said, it's not only working with people that we know we want you, but like you said, you've let people go that you didn't feel like you was a good fit for. Yep. And like I said, talking to you, what changed it really was we were going to cancel it for December, January, February, start back up in March. But literally leaving the commercial and talking to you, I left there. I crossed it. We ain't canceling nothing. I mean, obviously it's my decision, but I was like, he said he did this for the salt company or the snowplow company. I said, we're on.
But you just look at it like the dump truck side. You look at it like marketing is always something that like there's an acquisition of lead side that's what most of the time people try to correlate exactly to. There's also a brand recognition side that you're always working on. That if you want to go, anybody in any industry wants to go and take the top spot. Most of the industries around here in Kansas City are pretty available.
That's what we want. That's like you guys want. I mean,
there's not a lot of companies. Like when we came into the market space, everyone talks about how innovative we are and all this shit. I'm like, just so you guys know, my computer, I think, is magic. I think I got a magic computer where I can see what's happening on the coast. So it's like, if you watch what's happening on the coast, you just do it here. We're 5 years apart. I'm not going to talk from a lot of other states, but I'm just going to talk from a business standpoint with what they do in a marketing forefront, things like that. Most of the time, we're way fucking behind. Where it's, if you want to go see how you should be running a business on a digital forefront, go look at what those top companies are doing in Texas, in Florida, in California, all over the country that isn't here in the Midwest because we're so far behind. And you're going to see real fast that you should probably be doing something different. And most of these companies in the Midwest open up a door. They sit there. And they're like, where's everybody at? You did nothing for anybody to know that you have a company. Your standard of what is online is crazy low level. And then you want to sell at a really high level. And then it's none of what the businesses matches. It's just like, I feel like that's a very simple overview of it all, but it's like, that's something we could have a whole nother podcast on. But you understand that. And I saw it from the very beginning. It's something that you guys understand that. And it was like,
I mean, he's got I own it, but he's got the same vision behind me. That's what you got to have. You got to, like, you got these guys below you that are, like I said, I talked to you, like I text Ricky, the little issue. I was like, hey, you have Dane's number? He didn't even ask why. He just texted it to me. I shot you a text, said, hey, I tried to do it with it. And it was nothing with him. But I was like, we keep spelling stuff wrong. And so he was like, and then I didn't expect anything what you did. I just get it fixed. He's like, no, I moved it, boom. And, it's because, he knows my office manager, Melody. She's like gangster. And so I've had tons of people even be like, even my mentor, he's like, I need a Melody. And I was like, well, you can't have her. I can tell you that much. I go, but like, she's like, what's going on? And so like, that kind of that, but we want to get to that next level and keep growing and moving and be surrounded by with you guys or the companies
And that's the thing is when you're dealing with growing companies, if there's one thing I can guarantee is there's going to be problems. Mm-hmm. It's things, but it's owning those problems as they come. That I had to live when I have those business owners that text us and just thank us as we progress and working. And my deal is when I respond to them is most of the time is thanking them for working with us during these growing pains that we take on. That I own the mistakes all the time. Like I'm telling you, we make plenty of them.
And that's the biggest. I think we have a review on one of our things is where like and I'm big. I've been on the job. Like we did one beginning of this year. Last year we paved it. 2023 we paved the job. 2024 we actually somehow got the driveway next to the job that I wasn't so happy with. But I said, hey, we're gonna repave that guy's driveway too. I want to ride. But if you look at one of our reviews on Facebook, one bad one's my driving, by the way. I take the sticker out of my truck. But the second, but the lady was like, hey, the job got messed up. The owner fixed it at his cost, made it right. Would highly recommend it because I think that's with any business is that some shit's gonna go wrong. You're gonna have problems. Yeah. Are you gonna make it right and fix it?
If you have a bunch of people, if one thing I can tell you is guarantee shit's gonna go right. Shit's gonna happen, and you just gotta own it when it happens. Like, and I look at it as you think Jeff Bezos, like how many of them Amazon trucks crash a day? Like they literally set it up to where
I don't get my shit.
Yeah, where everyone owns these different things. Like
I don't care it's snowing. Like I don't care we just had a blizzard of 12 inches. Packers supposed to be here yesterday.
Bring the drones.
It's
man.
Friday now.
I paid $99 a year for Prime. I want it here now. Yeah.
Oh shit.
But it's like it's the same thing. No one's going after old Bezos if your package is 2 days late. Like
I'm watching for it out the window every day. Like it's being delivered. I'm like I had one. I think I told him last week from my nutrition store. I think it's not showing up. I call FedEx. She's like, it's not going to be there today. We're closed because the president passed away or something. I was just like, well, your thing says it's out for delivery. I go, this is false advertisement. She's like, there's not much I can do. I'm from corporate, and so I just hung up.
But no, there's always going to be problems or whatever it is, but like I said, I mean. This could be a 4-hour podcast, no problem.
We'll do another one if
you definitely have to come on again. So I appreciate both you guys coming on. I appreciate working with you guys. You guys are going big places. 2025 is going to be.
Both can go. Awesome.
It's going to. One direction's up.
That's right.
You have 2 directions in life. It's down or up. You get a pick.
Probably the same thing you tell them. I tell these guys. I said, as I come up, you come up. Be ready for it.
We rise as one. We fall as one. One of our core values is 300. So. If we're going to take this ship to the fucking bottom, we're all going to be on. We're going to sink the motherfucker together. Yeah. Or if we go to the moon, we're all
fun while we're doing it. I guess.
It goes one of 2 ways, but we all do it together.
For sure. So, we definitely appreciate it.
Thank you much. Sure. That's M3 Podcast. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the M3 Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Want to learn more? Check us out on Instagram at Moss Marketing Group, on Facebook at Moss Marketing 58, or on our website at mossmarketinggroup.com.